Welcome to the Tiffany Micah podcast. What we do here is build the strength and courage in you to accomplish your big dreams and goals in your sport. No longer will you feel limited. You won't feel you're not good enough. You won't question whether you will make it. Those doubts will disappear because you will have the competitive edge over your opponents and leave them in your wake. And the bonus is others will notice. Listen up and take notes because I will show you exactly how to do it. Hey there, this is Tiff from the Tiffany Micah podcast and welcome to today's episode. Well, here we are. We're actually at the beginning of April now, so we've just completed our first quarter for the year. That's pretty exciting. And what a challenging quarter we've had, especially since February, March has been quite testing with regards to what's been happening with the coronavirus in our country, your country, and the rest of the world. It's been quite a surreal time. But what I want to do in this episode today with you, and actually the next 3 episodes that you'll be listening to, we want to reflect on what's happened in the last quarter for you. Then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be planning the next quarter, and I'll show you how to do that. I know I do this every quarter that this that comes around, but I think it's really important, and because especially right now with what we're going through, I think it's really important for you to be very clear on your vision and be very clear on where you want to go with your sport. So that's why I'm putting this together for you, because I want to give you that direction that you'll need, because it's so easy to get caught up in what's going on with the coronavirus and what's going on in the world around us, and people being unemployed, and businesses are going out of business for for a period of time and so on. So there's a lot of challenges out there. You're not able to compete in your sport, and as of recording this episode today, especially, I've heard that Wimbledon will now be cancelled and they won't be running it this year. So there's some really major things, sports events that are actually not going on, nor should they. We need to tackle and contain the coronavirus so that then we can get back to what we want in our, back to some normality that we know of from the past. Yeah, things will probably change a bit in the future, but hopefully everything will be contained so we can get back into what we love to do and play our sport. So what we're going to do today, we're going to do two worksheets. Now you can create these yourself. I'm giving you what I do, and it's not really that difficult to do. It's just going to take a little bit of time to do it. But if you put the time in, you know what, you get much clearer on the direction and the path that you want to go. And then you're like, right, I know exactly what I want to do this quarter. I know exactly what I've got to work on, okay? Because I know that we're going to probably be restricted for the next few months still with the coronavirus, but doesn't mean that you can't work on your goals, doesn't mean that you can't change a few strategies for the time being and be a bit more creative and still go after what you want to accomplish. So this first part here, step 1, I call this the end of game analysis. Now I did record something like this December, I think, last year, the end of the quarter and also the end of the year. But I'm going to go back and repeat it again because I think it's really important that we actually just reflect on the past 3 months, what we've accomplished and what we haven't, just so that we're clear. Just so that if we haven't accomplished specific goals, that's okay. We can shift them into this next quarter, because like I always talk about, some of the goals take a bit longer to accomplish. And again, that's okay. So let's get right into it, okay? So end of game analysis. So what you can actually do, and you can just do this on an A4 sheet of paper, and you'll have 6 columns there, okay? And each column, because again, let's make it simple. So let's see it on one sheet. So in each column that you have, you're going to have specific questions, okay? So question 1 in the first column, what were the goals for the quarter? Okay, because we're analysing the January to March of this year. So what I want you to do now is I want you to write down what all those goals that you had set for that quarter, okay? Once you've done that, it could be sports goals, could be life goals, whatever it is, right? Then we move into question 2. What I want you to then do is in that column, for each goal listed, mark complete or incomplete. I don't like this success or fail or good or bad. We want to mark it as whether that goal has been completed or it has been incomplete. Now, it doesn't matter whether it's been incomplete and you're no longer pursuing that goal, because you can share why, but it is fine, because I've had some goals that I worked on this last quarter that are incomplete. Like, I've got quite a majority that are incomplete at the moment. But things had changed throughout the quarter, and and also other goals haven't been quite accomplished yet, so I've shifted them into the next quarter. So number 2 again, for each goal that's listed, mark complete or incomplete. Okay. Now the next column, this is question 3A. For each completed goal, how is it completed? So you want to write down that how you actually completed that goal. Okay, so I had a goal of going on some long bike rides, like creating some adventures, and that was completed because actually what happened, because of the coronavirus, then it forced the gyms closed because I just never got to doing all these bike rides that I wanted to do. And guess what? Because of the gyms being closed, it actually forced me to get my bike out, get the pump up the tyres, and then get out and do some long bike rides with my bike, rather than going for the easy option and going to the gym. So that's a good thing. So that's what you want to make sure that you have in that third column. Now the fourth column, which is 3B, for each incomplete goal, what you want to do is you want to identify what is missing. Okay, so whatever those goals that you had set in that first column and you've marked them as incomplete, what you actually need to do now is you need to actually write out why those specific goals are incomplete. Doesn't mean that they've failed, it just means that they're incomplete. Okay, so I'll give you an example. I'll give you like a nice easy example. Read 3 books was one of my goals over this past quarter. Now, I actually didn't accomplish reading 3 books over that time, and the reason for that goal being incomplete was that the books that I had nominated to read, they were really heavy reading, very intense, and it took me a while to go through them, and I just couldn't get myself motivated enough to work through those books. I'd read them now and then, but not be overly committed. And what I actually did this, probably the last few weeks of March, I actually ordered some new books that I actually wanted to go through and actually help build the business, help with mindset, help with, performing under pressure and so forth. I thought, those are the books that I ideally want to read, because there's a mastermind group that I'm part of, and, we read all these real heavy books, and I just like, I just don't want to work through these, make it difficult. I want to be able to accomplish some goals, but actually in the way that it's going to help me move forward, rather than me thinking that that's a drag, right? So that's one of the reasons why I didn't accomplish reading those 3 books, was because that they were just so heavy. The content was so deep. And that, some of that stuff really didn't interest me. So I found it really difficult to work through those. Whereas now I've got the books I want. Now I can reset my goal for the quarter, which we'll talk about later in another episode. But I can reset my goal and now moving forward. So that's what you want to make sure that you do in that column. Then we shift into the next column. So you should have only 2 columns left. So number 4, lessons learned for this quarter. So what I want you to do here is I want you to write out and list all the lessons that you've learnt throughout this quarter. Some of them might be in the sense of, I've learnt to recreate my training regime and be more creative at home and do home workouts since the gyms have been closed. Might be another thing on you've identified how to develop your skills in the backyard versus you can't do them on the playing field, so to speak, right? So look at the lessons that you've learned for this quarter. Here's a good one. How important it is to be incredibly hygienic. Yeah? I mean, a lot of these things that's happened with the coronavirus and where it's come from and stemmed from has been through lack of hygiene and also some other things that have gone on with, the wet markets in Wuhan and so on. So with all these exotic foods that they eat and so on. So there's a lot of things that have come out of that. And you're like, what? I've got to be really hygienic, got to wash my hands a lot more, got to be careful what I touch. When I touch it, sanitize my hands more often, wash my hands after I've gone to the toilet. Some people don't, that kind of thing. So it's just, that's a great lesson, right? Being more hygienic, being very clean. Every time you've been out, especially right now, you've got to wash your clothes. That's a great lesson to learn. But there can be other things, obviously, too, that you've learned along the way, okay? So make sure that you put those lessons that you've learned in there. Now, this is my favourite question of everything that I do. This is my favourite question because everything that we identify always leads to this question, no matter what. Okay, so this should be your last column, and this is number 5. What must I do next? Now, what this does, this is exciting because this then that gets you to think about, okay, what is it that I want to do next? What is it that I want to plan for in this next quarter? This gets exciting because you start to get creative and you go, yep, this is what I actually want to go after. Okay, so what are you going to do? You got to tell me, right? So I'll give you some examples. So for me, I've done some life goals and business goals because I tend to put those all in the same category. I want you can do some life goals and your sport, okay, what you want to do next. So for example, with mine, it's being able to run 5Ks without stopping. I had quite a serious hip and lower back injury last year that stopped me from doing a lot of things. It's now in rebuild mode. Everything's great. I had a twisted pelvis, so that's been sorted out, and that was just because I had a muscle strength imbalance. So that's what caused the pelvis to be twisted. That's sorted out through a lot of exercise and rehab that I've been working on. So now I'm in a point where I can start running again. Now I haven't actually done running for a couple of years now because I've always had this niggling pain with my hip. Now I'm able to do that. So my goal is to be able to run 5 kilometers without stopping by the end of the quarter. I've got to rebuild my running and I've got to rebuild my running technique and so on. So it's going to take a little bit of time because I've got to treat the hip and the lower back tenderly in the beginning and then I can go after it. Other goals that I'll be setting is reading and working through 4 specific books that I'm dying to sink my teeth into. There's one that I'm currently going through right now. Very excited about it. Great book that I'm reading that you'll love is Science Under Pressure. That's a great one. I'll be sharing a lot of information from that book especially over the next few months. I play the guitar, so I want to play full 3 songs really fluently. It's all those types of things, right? So it's planning on what you want to accomplish by the end of that quarter. So that's pretty much our end of game analysis. So that was good, wasn't it? The end of game analysis, excellent. We've worked through that first step. Now we're going to move on to the second step. I'm not giving you everything all in one episode because I will overwhelm you. I'm only going to give you 2 things to work on. Must work on the end of game analysis first. It's very simple questions, doesn't take long to fill out, just gets you to think about what's happened last quarter. Then it starts getting you thinking about, right, here we are, new quarter, let's go. What are we going to work on? Okay, so here we are now is in step 2, end of quarter reality or end of quarter destiny. I like it to call it end of quarter destiny because that's what our destiny is going to be. So we want to set this for the end of June. Now we have 3 questions that we're actually going to be working through on this. So again, on an A4 sheet of paper, it's so easy this to do. We're just going to have 3 columns. Okay, just 3 columns. That's all you need. Now, what I want you to do with that is I want you to then answer these questions. Okay, so in the first column, what I want you to do is I want you to answer this question is, what do I want to be true by the end of June? And I want you to actually set these specific goals for your life. Okay, because we have life goals, we have sports goals. Some of them intertwine, some of them don't. And it's good. It's good to separate your life and your sport so that you've got some specific things that you want to work on for your life and accomplish. And then you've got specific things that you want to work on with your sport. Okay? So what I want you to do for this first column is, what do I want to be true by the end of June, life or personal? Okay, and then I want you to write out what those specific goals are. Now, those specific goals would have been identified in that end of game analysis in that last column of what must I do next. That's what you will have identified, what your goals are actually going to be for this next quarter destiny. Okay, so that's the first one. The second column, what I want you to do then is I want you to then ask this question, how will I make that happen? And that's just your personal or life goal, or life goals rather, in plural. So I want you to write out, how will I make that happen? And what I want you to do, so let's put it this way, with those specific goals that you set of what you want to be true, don't do any more than 4. Because otherwise you'll be more overwhelmed. Really be specific on what you want. So 4 or less is good. Then when you actually fill out this next column of how will I make that happen, and this is your life goals, okay, your life destiny, then just write one sentence in how you're going to make that happen, because we can get into the detail in the next episode. Okay, but how will you make that happen? So for example, I'll give you an example. Able to run 5Ks with no pain and light on feet, right? So the no pain is no hip pain, no lower back pain, and being light on my feet, just rejig my technique, right? How will I make that happen? Practicing running each day with new light technique. Simple, right? That just says it how it is. Another example, I want to read 4 books over this quarter. How am I going to make that happen? Schedule reading time to work through the books, right? Simple. Play 3 songs with my guitar fluently and off by heart. How am I going to do that? Practice the songs and schedule practice time for them. Number 4, plan an adventure each month. How am I going to do that? Work out with Ian, that's my husband. What can we do together and have an adventure together? It's going to be a bit limited because of, the coronavirus and so on at the moment, but that's okay. We can still do that, right? So that's the first 2 columns. I think at this beginning of this end of quarter destiny, I said to you do 3 columns. Actually, let's make that 4 columns. I actually did it in 3 columns, but let's do it in 4, okay? So number 1 is, what do I want to be true by the end of June for your life goal, life destiny? The second column is, how will I make that happen for my life destiny? Okay, and then you just write that sentence out. So then we move into the second part, and what I want you to do then is, the questions will be the same, but they're going to be relevant to your sport. So what we want to do here is, what do I want to be true by the end of June for my sport? And then what I want you to do there is, I want you to list out what your goals are for your sport for the next quarter. Like I said for the first one, don't put any more than 4 goals. Be really specific what you want to accomplish. Give yourself a bit of time to think about what you ideally want to accomplish. I know that you're going to be restricted with regards to the sports side of things in the competition at the moment, but that doesn't stop you from working on your sport. You might say, you know what, I've got to do that Successful Athlete Masterclass that Tiff's got. It's a free one, by the way. And you can get that one at tiffanymica.com/Sam. That'd be a good thing to do, right? And work through that. Another thing that you could be working on is specific mindset techniques, right? You should be working on how to structure your day, how to structure your morning, how to structure your evening. Try and create consistency, what you're going to be training on during this time, right? Be really specific of what you want to accomplish with your sport. Then in the next column, so that'll be that 4th column, is then what you want to write down is, how will I make that happen? And write that down in 1 sentence. We can get to the detail in the next episode, okay? And I'll show you how to do that. But what I want you to do is write down in 1 sentence how you're going to actually make that happen. So let's say, for example, that you are going to work on creating a better morning routine to help start off for a successful day for your mental side of your sport, right? So how would you make that happen? Well, each morning I'm going to have a specific routine established so that it sets me up for a successful day. Something simple like that, and then we can get to the detail, okay? So that's what we want to do in this episode today. Number 1 is, we want to go through the end of game analysis. So we're looking at the past quarter, January to March. Then the second step is, what we want to do here is, we want to go through and look at the end of quarter destiny. So our next quarter, okay? From now until the end of June, what is it that we want to be true? Okay, and we answer those specific questions. So it's very, very simple for you to do. Everything can be done on 1 sheet for each exercise that we have to do. Get all the information out of your head. Do it by hand. Write it out. Don't do it on a computer, because I want you to connect emotionally with the pen. You can feel the pen in your hands. Write it out. You'll find that the flow is so much better, and you'll come up with some great ideas. Do that. And then you can when the next episode gets released, then you can work on what we do in that next step, okay? So hope you enjoyed today's episode. Love it if you could share with me what you like best about what you heard. If you've got friends that you know that would benefit from these episodes, love it too if you could share these episodes with your friends. If you haven't yet signed up for the Successful Athlete Masterclass, make sure that you do that, because that's designed, especially right now, it will help you plan and get everything out of your head and absolutely identify what you need mentally, and also what you need from a physical point of view with regards to your skills, that's going to help you strive forward, especially when we get back out on that field and competing, okay? Back into competition phase. So utilize that program. It is free, that you can move forward right? Don't get caught up in the hysteria of what's going on right now. Nothing you can do about it. You can control what you can control. So sign up for that Successful Athlete Masterclass. Just go to tiffanymica.com/SAM, and I look forward to you going through that, and love to hear what you're actually going to get out of that. And then also, don't forget about doing the specific end of game analysis, which is the last quarter, end of quarter destiny, which is what we've focused on the next quarter, and get those done. And I look forward to hearing from you. Dream big, believe in you, go after your dreams. Take care. Talk soon.